walked up into St James's and my hands, everything, my whole body just lit up. I've got goosebumps all over my...
I get those goosebumps. I get those goosebumps every time I'm around you. You're on mine, you make everything feel fine. Worry about those comments, I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too dumb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time. I need the hype, throw that.
Good morning, Newcastle United fans. Welcome to Loaded Mag NUFC on this fine Sunday morning. Cheers, not with brandy, with a bit of orange juice and a cup of tea. Hope you're all well. Well. A few bits to talk about, boys. Not gonna lie. I hope everyone's awake. I certainly am. Daz, how are you on this fine Sunday morning?
Well, good morning, Geordie Nation. Yes. How am I? Mixed emotions, Pete. Sad and frustrated on one point, and happy and excited on the other point, because sad and disappointed and frustrated because we've had to sell players. Players that we probably wouldn't have wanted to sell, and we're going to get into it and storyboard it out to give you the full picture. But meant an upcoming prospect for a decent fee, but will we come back to regret it in the future? Maybe. And Anderson, the player that was kind of a utility player for us, never really had a home for us on the pitch, but he was one foot that we all thought were expecting great things from the Geordie Maradona. But okay, park the sad and frustrated with the Premier League and this PSR thing, and then go the other side, happy and excited because, okay, first of all, our PSR worries are over, especially now that we've seen the fee for Anderson, which we'll get into as well, It's for me. It's not over. There's potential other deals that we could outgoings we could do today if we wanted to. We don't have to now, but we could, and also we could go shopping. There's enough money. The PSR worries are over. We could do our own little with the hunted becomes the hunter now. I think in this last remaining couple of hours. So that's what I'm excited about. And then click into tomorrow. It's game on. We are going shopping, boys. So, but how are you, Chris?
Yeah, I think you summed it up pretty well, to be honest, Daz. I kind of feel like the last 48 hours has been a bit of a blur. It's been a little bit... it's been hard work, particularly with my mates in me WhatsApp group, because obviously, you know, as you all know, they're Reds and Blues. They've been having a ball. You know, the media putting out, oh, Newcastle need to sell Isaac. Newcastle need to sell Gordon. Newcastle rang Liverpool and said, oh, please take Gordon. And I was like, boy, that's just not happened. It's not. I'll stand by that forever. It's not happened. I just don't believe it. And now, I suppose, you know, I have woken up and felt a little bit more content. You know, I've you know, quite how we've managed to do 2 deals in like less than 12 hours is a bit mad. But I'm also, and I'm sure we'll get into it, boys, but I've also kind of been left thinking, is this all part of the plan? Was this a master plan that's just been going on? Particularly for the news that has broke this morning, but I won't spoil that. I'll let Pete go into that. But Pete, how are you, mate? You all right?
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I was half asleep, kind of like just getting up. Just sort of plodding around, ready for the show, and then I've definitely sprung into life in the last sort of 20 minutes or so, and I'm sure we'll get down to it. But yeah, feeling good. It's been very much up and down. But the word I'll use now is rejuvenated. Rejuvenated after what's happened last night, what's happened this morning, and what's likely to come. The one thing I will say is, with all of this, there has been a lot of smoke and mirrors. There just has. And I think us as a channel, us as a three, we have been drawn into it as much, certainly on social media and reactions off the back of that. We've given our opinions, but not really gone into what the meltdown has been on socials, because I think we knew that there was always something to it, and it's proven to be the case. So look, rejuvenated is the right word. We are ready to attack this summer. Absolutely. And I am really, really looking forward to what's going to happen in July, or maybe today. Who knows? We'll see. But just very quickly, just because we starred them, we always ask for your tunes as a shout out. So big up to all the tunes. We've got Joe in the house. We've got Roger. We've got Adam from New Zealand. Wow. Outstanding. Hope you are well. Lisa, our resident spanner with the tunes. We've got Shimmer in there. Gary, welcome, Gary. John, Stu, another spanner in the house. Hope you're well, Stu. We've got Rich, of course. Rich is in the house as always. Nathan Page and Ray, and I'm sure there'll be one or two filtering in as we talk about all things Newcastle United. And look, we'll give a little timeline. We like to do this, especially because there's been a few days where all of this madness has been kicking off. So we'll run it through. And it kind of started with sort of Alexander Isak, really. They had the initial inquiry with regards to Chelsea wanting sort of an interest, or putting an interest in. It then spiraled into further contact a day or two later, and that was, I believe, was on Friday, and that's where it kind of started to kick into gear a little bit more. And I think that's where Newcastle fans started to get a little bit concerned. I'm not going to lie, I did laugh at this one with Jacob Steinberg. Reported yesterday that Nicholas Jackson was being touted as part of the deal. And I'm not going to lie, at that point, boys, I call bullshit. Bleep me out. It's early, it's Sunday morning, but I did call it at that point, because I thought that's just not going to happen. Newcastle United are definitely better than that. And then we got the withdrawal from the Mail Sport had mentioned, I think it was the Friday night into the Saturday morning, but it had rumoured that they had withdrawn from the race. Whether there was one or not, it remains to be seen. But what were the interesting one, boys, is when it kind of kicked in to this. And I think every Newcastle fan was stunned when Craig Hope put this piece out. Whatever you think about the piece, whatever you think about why it was put out, we'll talk about that afterwards. But that was definitely something that shocked Newcastle United fans, the consideration of potentially selling Anthony Gordon, but also then Jarell Kwanzaa, who is, been called up to the England squad, talented young centre-back, but having that as part of the deal. Jacob Steinberg also says there was still interest, although it had kind of calmed down. And that swap deal was the one that was kind of all the talking point, which then over the course of the day started to sort of fizzle out. There wasn't really much talk of it genuinely happening at this point. But then things ramped up again because a couple of deals back to back, and these are the ones that I think we'll probably talk about more. Is this deal here with Anthony Elanga and Elliot Anderson. This was kind of the surprise deal. There was talk of a swap deal, although Keith Downey just mentioned here later on in the day that there was no interest of Anthony Elanga potentially going the other way. Forest wanted to keep him, but it was part of those ongoing talks there. As that was going on, we had the one that everybody knew was going to potentially happen at some point, and that was Yakube Minte. So Ben Jacobs reported that we still needed around 30 million with PSR, and that sale needed and had to happen. Then we got into late last night. Not only did David Ornstein give us the kind of the exclusive that deal had been agreed, but Keith Downey, of course, friend of the channel, reported that the fee had been agreed around the 33 million mark, and that basically he was on his way. We got the here we go from Fab, as what we normally do. And this, boys, I want to get your opinions on this as well, because obviously Craig Hope talks about this deal being done, but referring to it as one of the most important in the history of Newcastle United, due to the fact that he never played for us. So I'd like to get your thoughts on that point further on down the line. We did get some update in that he'll be having a medical today. So he'll be travelling to Brighton. I think they've touched down in England, so that will be happening. But then they had that. We were having this conversation. I think it might have been you, Daz, that mentioned it could not be the last. It might be another deal. That we had a conversation last night about that. And this is what Keith Downey says. It might not be the last deal of the day, and it certainly wasn't, boys, because late last night, I think when some were in bed, I wasn't, but a number of people were. Here we go. David Ornstein confirms that Elliot Anderson, thank God it wasn't Anthony, has agreed a deal to go to Nottingham Forest, and the medical this morning, Fabrizio Romano says, is going to be happening. Now, should we talk about what's just dropped before we have our conversation, or should we wait? I'm happy to put it up if you're happy to talk about it.
Do you know what, mate? I would mention it because it kind of ties everything up. So I would.
Yeah. So to end on what we've just talked about there, in a little bit of a timeline, what you can see right now is what Keith Downey has just put out. So Elliot Anderson, rumours of 10 million, people not happy about that. Wow. 35 million for Elliot Anderson. Craig Hope has just tweeted out exactly the same thing, boys. The fee for Elliot Anderson to Nottingham Forest is around 35 million. Breaking news, boys.
More.
Breaking news.
Hang on. Wait.
People, you're getting this right. You're getting this live. I'll read it out to you. The fee for Elliot Anderson to Nottingham Forest is around 35 million. And I understand, Craig Hope says, a Forest player is set to come in the opposite direction.
Ooh.
Breaking news. We didn't think it might happen.
Is it Alanga? Is it Morgan Gibbs-White? Is it someone else? It's not Chris Wood.
That is just dropped literally 1 minute ago. So we asked the question, and Daz, you said it before we went live. You said it again when we were
live.
I
said.
You did. I was going to come for you. It ain't over. It ain't over, people. It is not over. We are going to be potentially getting a player coming the other direction. Wow. So 35 million and a player coming the other way. Wow. People. Hey, strap in. Wow. This is going to be a very, very interesting day. Boys, I've done enough talking. I've done the run through. What are your thoughts?
Back to bed.
Yeah. Great. I ain't sleeping. Not now. Guys, what's your thoughts, man? Tell us.
Apologies to the comments. I wanted to give Pete the full screen we'll get back to the comments in a second. But what am I thinking? My God, it's just absolutely crazy, isn't it? I left out on my summary at the start. At least we didn't lose any of our big players, like the Bruno, the Isaac, and they were never going, and Gordon, of course, as well. But what am I thinking? Great fee for Elliot Anderson, even though As I said, he didn't really have a home. He had the potential. The Jordi Maradona, he like in last preseason, he was unreal for us. He had the injury then that put him out a bit. But getting 35 million for him is a bargain. It's a good fee to get in for him. I just think that now it's going to be very interesting to see, is it Elanga? They didn't want to let Elanga go yesterday, so is it someone else? Is it the Morgan Gibbs White that we've all been talking about, or is it someone else? Could even be Matt Sells back again. Murillo. Armadillos. Yes, I like it. You never know. It's going to be exciting today. I'm afraid to nip off for 2 hours now because something could break. But yeah. What are you thinking, Chris?
My head's just gone. Like when Pete was talking then about the breaking news, I was thinking, what is he going to say? I was thinking he was going to say another exit actually. But yeah, I suppose in many ways it makes sense, doesn't it? Now I'm thinking about it, because obviously if we're raising 33 million for Minter and 35 million or around those figures for Elliot Anderson, that's 68 million. And if rumours are to be believed, we only needed to kind of get around the 40, possibly 50 mark if we're being, worst case. So if you were to include, let's say it was 50 million that we needed to raise. I don't think it was that high, but let's say it was. That means that we're 18 million in the black, so to speak. Now, if you times the 18 million over 5, that would be what, 90 million? So you could feasibly sign a 90 million pound player and still stay within the PSR rules if you spread it over the 5 years. Now, I'm not suggesting we've bought anyone from Forest for 90 million, but it kind of gives you an idea as to, how much swing room there is there. Now, what is interesting to me is that we've heard in the last 24 hours that Nottingham Forest were unwilling to let Anthony Elanga go. So then that is pointing me, as Pete's just mentioned, that is pointing me now to, a Morgan Gibbs White or a Murillo. And I tell you what, if it's Morgan Gibbs White or Murillo, that's a fantastic bit of business. That is a fantastic bit of business. I'm not opposed to Anthony Elanga, because Anthony Elanga is an upgrade on Miggy and Jacob Murphy. So I think it's a step in the right direction. I think he's only 22 years old. Lots of room for improvement. So I think it will be a good signing. But the other two excite me more. If it was Murillo or it was Morgan Gibbs White, I mean, imagine swapping Elliot Anderson for Morgan Gibbs White. If we're talking upgrades like that is exciting. That's really, really big news. So I hope Craig Hope's on the button with that. I hope that we are, trying to do a deal. It'll be interesting to see who the other player is. And obviously we'll be keeping an eagle eye on it. But yeah, great summary, Pete, of the last 24 hours. I don't know how you did it and condensed it in such a short space of time, because it feels like we've been talking about this for like 72 hours. So you've done well there. But yeah, I can't believe that we've managed to get such a good price for Elliot Anderson. We heard last night, I think you mentioned, Pete, that it was around 10 million. And I'll be honest, that disappointed me a little bit. Although the other side of me thought, well, at least it's 10 million of pure profit, because Elliot Anderson obviously is an academy product. But to get 35 million like that's huge numbers. Huge numbers for the lad who's clearly talented. Nobody's saying that, if you looked at a list of our squad players, Elliot Anderson isn't high up there as someone who you've got to get rid of. But if we're all taking away the Geordie element, taking away the fact that, he's clearly got a lot in his locker, like he's a good player. Yeah. It's a lot of money for the player who, let's be honest, hasn't really found a place in this Newcastle 11. Yes, he played quite a lot of football last season, but going forward, when you've got the likes of Sandro Tonali, Joe Linton, Bruno Guimaraes, Joe Willock, Sean Longstaff, Lewis Miley, I think it's fair to say that you would put all of those players above Elliot Anderson when you're talking in the centre of midfield. And then when you talk about the left wing, you've got Anthony Gordon, you've got Harvey Barnes, you've got Joe Linton who can play there. Elliot Anderson's probably fourth choice in that left wing position. So to pick up 35 million of pure profit for a player who's very good, I'm not knocking him, and I think it's a good signing for Forest. I think he'd do really well at Forest. I do. But again, boys, we keep talking about it. We're talking about leveling up. We're talking about competing at the higher end of the table in the top 6. Is Elliot Anderson going to consistently be able to keep us there? I don't know. He could kick on. He could be brilliant. Same with Minter. Yankuba Minter. Did I want to sell him at the start of this window? No. Like, we could have had a really, really special player on our hands. But when you're signing a player, I thought it was 7 million, but a lot of people saying it was 6 million. When you're signing a player for that fee and you're getting 25 million plus added onto that, and you're selling him and he's not even kicked the ball for you, it's a deal you can't not do. You can't not do that. You're turning over the player in less than 12 months and you bring in pure profit into the club. Yankuba Minter could go on and be an absolutely brilliant player, and in 12, 18, 24 months, we could be looking going, oh, God, that was a balls up. Oh, that was a shame. Why did we get rid of him?
Yeah.
On the other hand, he may not pull up any cheese. He may just be a good Premier League player, like a player who, probably deserves to be at like a mid-table club. Is he going to be a top 6 player? That's what we don't know. And I think that's why we're capitalising on this hype, this fantastic season he's had at Feyenoord last season in the Eredivisie. We're capitalising and we're getting in the maximum fee that we could for a player who, let's be honest, is untried, untested. Because that's what he is. He's untried and untested. He could be brilliant. And, I said this to one of my mates yesterday. He could be brilliant and we could be going, oh, God, we shouldn't have sold him. But if you said to me now, you're going to lose Elliot Anderson and Yankuba Minter, but you're going to keep Gordon, you're going to keep Isak, you're going to keep Bruno, I think 99% of the Newcastle fan base would have took that. 100%. 100% of contradicting myself there. But I think a lot of fans, if not all fans, would have took that.
We know what you're saying, Chris, 100%. And but both yourself, Daz, and Chris, you've been absolutely spot on with your sort of reflections. You boys know my reflections. I put it on Twitter as well. They didn't. Luke Edwards didn't think it was a swap deal, but obviously we're disappointed in the fact that Elliot Anderson has gone. But ultimately, for me, we're looking at this now in a completely different light. Yeah. We are, regardless of what anybody says, we are looking at this in a different light. 35 million for Elliot Anderson. 30 million for a player that you've just quite rightly described, Chris, as a player that's never kicked a ball for Newcastle United. Right? We are 65 million up. When have we ever created that amount of money? Like, just go back to last summer, and we were desperately scrambling to sell Alan St-Maximin, and we had got like 23 million, and we ended up spending using that basically for our summer budget. What did we spend? 130 million altogether. What's that 65 million on its own going to allow us to do? And Daz, you were excited about who's going to town on it. Chris, you said the same. I'm excited now. I'm rejuvenated. I keep using that word because we have now money not only to pay the difference in the PSR, but to really attack the summer. Like, we are in a great position to as much as people don't like it, to lose 2 players, one that's never played for the club, and 2, as much as he's a young prospect in Elliot Anderson, and he's a young lad, he's a Geordie lad, he knows the club, he knows the area, and they're the things that we're going to miss about Elliot Anderson. But in the reality, he's third choice. Like, his position is left centre mid, okay? And when he's come in, he played sort of left wing back against Tottenham and was outstanding. He was brilliant. He was. Okay. But he's also been inconsistent too. And when all of our players are fit, the reality is that Joe Linton starts ahead of anybody in that left centre mid berth. And a fully fit Joe Willock deputises for him. So you put in Elliot Anderson as third choice. And to have a third choice player just sit there in a season where we've not got European football so we can expose him to additional games, we haven't got that. And what did we say, boys? When we were frustrated, when we lost out on Europe, when Man U won the FA Cup, we said Newcastle United need to be ruthless. They need to do things that they might not be comfortable with and they might not be happy with. This is the first part. Exactly. This is the phase 1 of the ruthless. There'll be more. I fully expect Callum Wilson to be out the door. I fully expect
Potentially today.
Absolutely. And, to bring that in, we saw the cryptic Instagram that you put out the other day that raised a lot of questions on the back of that. Ben Jacobs, friend of the channel, continually mentions that a number of teams have showed interest in Wilson recently, and mentions it again on there. Unclear if he's prepared to move to the side of Pro League, but they are expressing interest, and that's one that can be done. That might well sit on the PSR this side as well, because as far as we're aware, and there's a lot of talk about this, a deal can be pre-agreed, even though it might not go through until later on down the line. So if he agreed a deal today, that might still be able to sit on the books, even though it doesn't open in Saudi until the 17th of July. So there is potential for that too. And that ruthless nature is what Newcastle United have been missing. We've been frustrated about why are certain players here? Why are certain players here? Well, we've had to get through a really difficult 72 hours, as you said, Chris. But we're coming out of it now in a really great position. Hey, I've got Dior messaging me right now, absolutely fuming as a Forest fan. He's fuming, and he didn't even know. He didn't even know that that there's a potential for a player going the other way. I haven't even got his reaction.
Morning, Ben.
You got your coffee, mate. But he is not happy. He's not happy. He was happy to take the player, but when the rumours around 10 million and whatever, he was happy to take the player. 35 million. He ain't happy about that. We have definitely won, and he said it himself. Newcastle United have won that deal, and we have. There is no doubt about it. But going back to the other point, okay, with Isak, Gordon. For me, I've said it from the beginning. It was a way of pushing the narrative away. They would have noticed, they would have seen on social media the reaction to us potentially selling Yakubu Minte. Nobody wanted him to go. None of us wanted him to go. We understood why it might have to happen. Nobody wanted it to happen. Now look at it now. 24 hours ago, everyone was more than happy for Yakubu Minte to go if it meant that Anthony Gordon and Isak were going to stay. Were they ever close to going? In my opinion, boys, not a chance. There is no way that Newcastle United were ever going to sell Isak and Gordon. No. It was never going to happen. And this is why I kind of stayed away the majority of the day off social media, because I put a little something out when it came about. I was calm with the situation. They weren't going anywhere. If they would have gone, boys, we wouldn't have been hearing, oh, they were willing to sell or could be willing to sell. It had been done. They'd have just done it. They'd have ripped off the Band-Aid and said, the deal's done, he's leaving. That's what they would have done. But they didn't. And that told me everything I need to know. It was a story to be put out to distract people from the fact that they were going to sell Yakubu Minte. And you know what? It's great business. Great business minds. Exactly what football clubs need to do. And now we're in a position where we're letting Yakubu Minte go, and we're going, actually, that's a good fee. We'll take that. We've got Isak, we've got Gordon, we're good. Now we're saying the same with Elliot Anderson. And now, us three boys, as well as people on the chat and people watching live, are now saying, let's cook. Let's cook. Let's go to town. Let's go shopping. We're not shopping in B&M. We're not shopping in Home Bargains. We are shopping, okay, in the big stores. Okay, we're going big, and I'm looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it, all right, Pete. Yeah, I agree with everything what you guys are saying. I didn't touch it when I was talking earlier, but I didn't believe Gordon or Isak were ever going to be leaving. That would be like shooting ourselves in the foot if we went down that road. A lot of people as well were kind of questioning the owners, saying Murdat and Amanda, they don't know what they're doing. That's what they were saying. That we should have someone in there calling the shots, but they've proved everyone wrong once again by these moves. I thought as well that we were going to have potential Eddie Howe on the steps of St James's Park, like the Andy Cole style, explaining why we did all this, but no need now. It's becoming clear. But wanted to throw something at you as well. Because just there's something that was in my head, and okay, it looks now like we're talking to someone from Forest, but I was thinking 35 million with Brentford and Leeds for who needs to sell today as well for Archie Gray. That's someone we could get involved with as well. That would be interesting to me anyway. One for the future and the now. But yeah, plenty of options. And I think, especially if Wilson was to go today inside the July 30th deadline. Oh, hang on. Do we have more?
Did you talk about Archie Gray?
Yes.
Yeah, there's news from a Leeds reporter that's just said Leeds have officially rejected Brentford's offer 20 minutes ago. Apparently Spurs, Chelsea interested, but yeah, that's just come through on the 12th man chat from Joe, friend of the channel.
Leeds
fan. Brentford deal off for Gray, bid rejected. you may be onto something.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Let's see. That surprised me as well. But let me see. Where am I going next? Mbappe. But no, KK. Sorry, KK. I should have said. Yeah. But let's see. I think there's more fun to be had today. Let's put it that way. Wilson, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes, and then we're definitely going shopping today. And it could be the Trafford deal, because Burnley need to sell as well. That maybe they now accept the lower fee that we talked about. Maybe now as well we have that bit of headroom to go back in from Marmashvili. Not today, but like as we get into July and as the Euros winds down and stuff. So there's a lot of movement, both today and on the next couple of weeks.
Definitely. Lots of movement there, but I want to get people's thoughts on it. Throw some questions at us, people. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings about what's happened today? Not only we've got 35 million coming in as Elliot Anderson takes his medical, there's a potential for a Forest player to come the other way. I've got the Geordies down south chat going mad. They're watching the show. They put some questions in. I think Fumby's put a question in for us as well. We might want to go to that in just a second. But there we'll talk about who's it going to be. Who's it going to be? Boys, I might as well ask you the question. Who's it going to be? In your opinion, who is the Forest player coming in?
Oh.
We've been linked with a few, like we said. Alanga, we've talked about. You've got Morgan Gibbs-White, who's been... We've effectively scouted him for a year. We've got Murillo, who the three of us have all talked about and rated very highly, centre-back. If it was any one of those three, who are you getting? Who are you prioritising, and why?
Morgan Gibbs-White has to be. Now I know we needed the centre defender as well, but Morgan Gibbs-White, just for the sheer joy and excitement he would bring in a Newcastle shirt, I think, and the link up with Gordon as well, and great age, and Eddie, and he'd want to go as well. Eddie will get him in that England squad going forward. So Morgan Gibbs-White is the one I'd like to see.
Great point. Chris, who are you thinking, fella?
I agree with Daz. So I think the one that I'd really want is Morgan Gibbs-White, because I think under Eddie Howe he would just flourish. I think he'd be absolutely brilliant. He would offer an option on that right wing. He could play in the 8. He could play in the 10 if we change formation. He could probably play false 9. I think there's loads of positions that he could play, and I think he is a great age, and I'd say as well he's at the right age. He's at the right age for development. Two things. Yeah, he is. It just, the deal just makes sense to me. So I think if I was going to put it in priority, or not priority order, but in preference order, I would say probably Morgan Gibbs-White, then I would say Murillo, and then I would say Alanga. But I'm not opposed to bringing in Alanga, because as I've said, boys, I mean, look at what he did against us when we played Forest. He's absolutely rapid. He tore Dan Burn apart, and he caused us all kinds of problems when we played Nottingham Forest. So I think he's certainly a good option. I don't know what it is. My gut feeling's just saying that it's not Anthony Elanga. And the reason I'm saying that is because, yes, he's been linked, and yes, people talked about the swap deal, but Forest came out and said no to that swap deal. And it just makes me wonder, are Forest thinking, do you know what, let's cash in on one of the big boys, let's cash in on a Murillo, or let's cash in on a Morgan Gibbs-White, knowing that both of those players are probably looking for the move elsewhere, whereas I reckon Elanga would probably be happy to stay at Nottingham Forest. And last season, Callum Hudson-Odoi on the left and Anthony Elanga on the right. It was a real two really good wingers for Nottingham Forest there. So I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Murillo would be a really good signing, but then equally Morgan Gibbs-White would be up here. I tell you what, if we swapped Elliot Anderson for Morgan Gibbs-White, I think a lot of other Premier League clubs would kick off at that. I think that's when you'd start seeing the anger, and you'd start seeing the Newcastle have been underhand, or Newcastle are bending the rules and all stuff like that, because people will be unhappy if we get Morgan Gibbs-White, particularly if we're getting 35 million for Elliot Anderson. Yeah, boys, let me pop one back at you. If we're getting 35 million for Elliot Anderson, Nottingham Forest going to sell a player for roughly the same amount or a bit more? Is that how you envisage it?
Right. We're going to answer that question, mate, in just a second. But we've got 700 watching. We've got well over 400 watching on YouTube. But the others that are on Twitter right now, come over to YouTube, because we're going to end the Twitter stream now. And we're going to continue this conversation. As well as that, we're going to get into Elanga and Murillo in a bit more detail. So if you haven't, switch over now. For those that are on YouTube, do the good thing, all the housekeeping stuff, and click that like, and consider subscribing to the channel. I think we are announcing another huge, monumentous milestone for the channel, which we will talk about in a little bit during the show. But yeah, thank you for all your support, and look, the amazing comments from everybody in the chat. It's great to have such a great community as always, talking to us on 9:37 on a Sunday morning. The commitment to the channel and the support is amazing. It really, really is. Just run us through that question again, Chris, really quickly, just so we can throw some answers back at you.
Yeah, I panicked a bit then, Pete, when you said it, because I was thinking, shit, what did I ask?
It is
but no, what it was, I said, so if we're selling Elliot Anderson for 35 million, you would assume that there's going to be a similar-ish deal, or do you think it'll be a similar-ish deal? Do you think it'll be slightly more? Do you think it'll be around the same price? Because I think if you're talking north of 35 million, that's when you get into the Murillo and Morgan Gibbs-White kind of figures. Or do you think that it's probably going to be an Anthony Elanga, who I would imagine would be around the 35 million price? I'm just trying to think, how much did Forest pay Man United for Anthony Elanga? Do you know?
I'll find out for you in just a second, because I'm sure we'll have it here somewhere. It was 17.5 million. And I think
double your money.
That's euros, actually. That might be, I think that's euros. So it'd be, let's say, not a huge fee at all.
Yeah, well, 17.5 times 2. Oh, sorry, Zaz, go on, mate.
Yeah, in transfermarket.com, he's listed at 22 million. That's his current value.
Oh,
yeah. Well, there you go. Well, there you go. So 17.5 million euros times 2 is 35 million euros, which is probably around 31 million. So that would be a similar price to Elliot Anderson. Or are we going north for that? What do you reckon, boys?
For Morgan Gibbs-White?
How much would he be, do you reckon?
Higher. I would say, for me, Morgan Gibbs-White would probably be around the Anthony Gordon fee that we paid for Anthony Gordon. I would say around the 45 million.
Exactly. That's the figure I had as well, 45.
Yeah, that's what I think that would be the price. As well as that, I think Murillo would probably be around the same, just because of how young he is and his potential, because he is a super talented centre-back. And he could absolutely flourish. I think he's like 21, isn't he? Like 21.
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
it's crazy.
Then the tall Ismailan defender, because he was talking about in around the 30 mark, wasn't he? So I'd go that direction rather than Murillo.
Yeah, exactly. And with Tor, who's a year older, he's won Serie A with AC Milan. He's played Champions League football, so he's probably more well-rounded as a centre-back and played at a higher level with them. So I would agree with you, Daz. I think the potential for Murillo is there. I think the one thing that Murillo's got is he's played in the Premier League and he's played well in the Premier League. He's got that experience. But I think there's arguments either way for them, to be fair, for either centre-back. And be honest, boys, I think either one of them comes in. I don't think Newcastle United fans are actually, they're not up in arms about it. I think they're actually quite happy with that quality of centre-back coming in. But I'll just answer the question initially of who I would want. I'm with you, boys. I think it's a Shaw all round for me, because I think Morgan Gibbs-White is the one you go for, just for everything that you boys have said. His relationship with Anthony Gordon, you can bet that they're constantly talking, and he's trying to get him. He's trying to get him to Newcastle. You can imagine.
And not to Liverpool.
Yeah, not to Liverpool. So that about apparently there was a medical booked in Germany or something for Gordon. It's rubbish, man. That stuff came from the Liverpool fans. They're all hyping it up. Grizz Khan, who I know well, he's on the Big Six with Liverpool fan. He's bigging it up, saying, "Oh, they've been talking for God knows." It's rubbish, man. It's rubbish. It was never going anywhere. Never going anywhere. The only thing Gordon was doing is going off the front of his bike and head first. That's the only thing he's been doing this week. But for me, Morgan Gibbs-White, I actually can see, and I don't know if you boys agree with this, I wouldn't be surprised if it is Morgan Gibbs-White. I wouldn't be surprised Morgan Gibbs-White comes in on that right-hand side of midfield, of the midfield three, almost as an alternative to a Sandro Tonali. And Sean Longstaff moves out, and we potentially sell Sean Longstaff, or Sean Longstaff becomes the third choice in that position. He can also play on the right-hand side, and he can play right wing. We've talked about it before. He can play there well. So he is the versatile player, but his energy and his work rate and his ability on the ball to score goals as well and create opportunities is exactly what we need. And I just think that would be such a big signing if we managed to get him in. And I think people would very quickly realise the talent that he is if he was to sign. But if it is Anthony Elanga, boys, how would you feel about that? How would you feel about Anthony Elanga coming in? Because we haven't really talked about Anthony Elanga, because obviously it was linked yesterday, and we were kind of talking about how the deals were running and what we were kind of hearing on social media with regards to these deals. But if it is Anthony Elanga, for example, like what would your reaction be to that? And what do you think kind of he'd bring?
I think Chris put it perfectly earlier. Like, he's definitely an upgrade on Miggy and Murphy. He's pace to burn. He's Swedish international, so you'd imagine that'd be a good link up with Isak as well. I would go a level higher than Elanga, but if it was a good price, then fair enough. I don't want to be hearing 35 million though for Elanga, to tell you the truth. I think we could better value elsewhere, but I wouldn't be disappointed. But I already have my heart set on Morgan Gibbs-White now when you're giving me the option of who I want from Forest.
Okay, and Chris, you'd already mentioned that, so I'm going to come to you with regards to Murillo. But FX Pro, I think a few minutes ago, just put in the chat. He put question: how much do you think we sold Elliot Anderson for? Where you been, man? We already talked about this. We got 35 million for him. Come on, Jesus! We got 35 million for him, mate. You should be celebrating now. But no, I hope you're well, FX Pro. Chris Murillo, what do you think he'll bring in? You know, where, or should I say, who do you think he's going to partner with if he was to come in and come into the team?
Hey, you've literally just teed me up right there. As you and Daz were talking, I thought it's time for SofaScore.
Has no one asked you yet?
There's one shocking one though. I've done 3 quick ones, and there's one shocking one, but this one is not a shocker. So you like this? Okay. This is Fabian Schär versus Murillo.
Ooh, wow.
Interesting.
As you can see,
Marino's in the blue, is that right?
yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Murillo's in the blue. So there's still a little bit of room for improvement in terms of tackling. But he pretty much matches up to Shah, which is exciting considering there's probably about 10, 11 years difference in the age. So, for me, that's pretty exciting. So yeah, that is Murillo compared to Fabian Schär. I also did a very quick comparison, and this won't come as a surprise, to be fair, boys. I also did a quick comparison on Elliot Anderson versus Morgan Gibbs-White. Morgan Gibbs-White being in the blue. So as you can see, certainly from a technically and creative and attacking wise, you're doing a major upgrade there. When you're swapping Elliot Anderson for Morgan Gibbs-White.
And Elliot Anderson could slot into that Morgan Gibbs-White role as well, for them.
No, absolutely. And do you know what? I don't want to feel like I'm doing a disservice there to Elliot Anderson. There's a lot of room for improvement with Elliot Anderson. I think when he plays regular football, he is going to improve, and I think he is going to be a good signing for Forest. I've seen other clubs spend a lot more than 35 million and not get a player, of Elliot Anderson's commitment, his professionalism, the fact that he's a very, very talented lad. So I do think, as much as I love the price, I do think that Nottingham Forest is still getting a very good player. The one that surprised me a little bit, boys, and maybe this is the talking point, I don't know. I thought, I wonder how Anthony Elanga matches up against Miggy. Miggy Almiron's in the blue. Yeah.
Track back. Yeah.
To be fair, I would have expected that. Certainly, tactically, and sort of technically, I would have said he was there. I just think, maybe in the attacking areas, Elanga has proven this season that he's got sort of the better final ball. I think he's got 9 goals, 5 assists, which actually I was really surprised about. 14 goal contributions for Anthony Elanga last season. I thought that was a decent kind of return for him. And I think if we had that for Miggy this season, I don't think we'd have had too much complaints. And I think that's someone who is still quite young. I think he's like 22, 23, something like that. He's still quite young and got loads of room. Yeah, he's 22. He's got loads of room to improve. But it's really interesting, actually, with some of these players, particularly the one with like Fabian Schär as well, because they are, although he's left-footed in Murillo, for example, they are very similar players in the way they like to play. I would say he's probably got more pace than Fabian Schär. His recoveries are very, very good. But I think that they are very, very similar players. And you've got to think, like, there's probably 10 years difference in them in terms of like age gap. So you're thinking they're very similar players now, but he's got so much room to grow. How much better could he potentially be as he gets older? But the Elanga one's interesting. It is an interesting one because, again, a lot of people haven't mentioned it. I think we mentioned it in our chat. He meets up regularly with Alexander Isak. They're both in the Swedish national team, so there's a connection there. There's probably a friendship there, and that might be a conversation that's already happened between those two in terms of what Newcastle's all about. And who's to say they haven't been talking this weekend, for example? And it's the same with Gordon and Morgan Gibbs-White. Like this is where the link is. Like it's a really interesting one. It genuinely intrigues me, and I'm not going to lie, boys. If it's either Morgan Gibbs-White or Murillo, I'd be happy with either because they're both positions that I think with Anderson going, we do need to replace, and we need a centre back anyway. And I think we'd be getting a really good one if they come in. Like the fact that Forest fans are sweating right now. They're worried. Like they are absolutely worried. Like Dor is fuming at this situation, and they'll be scrambling to try and find out who that player is that's potentially coming the other way. And I don't think Forest are completely out of the woods for PSR. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think they might need maybe one more deal to go through because I think they were waiting on 2 deals in France. Diakate was going to someone in France. I think it might be Lyon. and they're waiting on
Mangala, was it?
Mangala. That was another deal, and they haven't yet gone through. So they might need this deal to go through. So it could well be that within the hours to come, that we're potentially hearing who that player is.
Well, if that's the case, Pete, and you're right in what you're saying, and they're still waiting for another one to get over the line, that would indicate to me that it's going to be a player of higher value than the 35 million. That's how I feel about it, anyway. You know what? It's going to be an exciting Sunday, isn't it? It is going to be an exciting Sunday to find out who this player is. I mean, we talk about smoke screens. Anthony Elanga's name's came up. That's what I mean. People have come up and said the club don't want to lose Anthony Elanga. So it does make you look at other players. I mean, boys, have we got the blinkers on? Are we missing? Is there anybody else who it could be other than Elanga, Morgan Gibbs-White, or Mavillo? Is there anybody else at Forest who you look at and go, actually, he do a decent job? Is there anyone that we're missing?
I would say they're probably Forest's main three players. There's a lad that plays for them, Danilo, that's not a bad player.
Yeah.
He's not a bad player, but again, I think they're probably their most high profile three players of the lot. So for me, it's either one of those or none at all. But that's just my opinion.
I don't think he did great for them, but it was a player we were linked with before. Sangari, Ibrahim Sangari. Remember, he was at PSV, and we're talking about a defensive midfielder. Yeah. I don't think he did great. I don't remember much from him last season, but I can't
very
see
defensive midfielder. Oh, actually, but it probably won't work. I was just looking at their squad. Callum Hudson-Odoi, but he's left side. He's not right side. He actually had a good return last season for them. I think he played well. He got 8 goals. What was it? 8 goals, 1 assist. We've got 9 goal contributions. He had a good end to the season for them, but he's left sided. We've already got Barnes and Gordon, so I'm just running through their squad.
I've literally just been doing the same, Pete. The only one who stands out to me as a possible, but it'd be interesting to get your boys' views on it, is Awoniyi. Backup striker to Alexander.
The striker, Nigerian striker, yeah. He was doing well for a while, wasn't he?
Very, very big,
target man,
strong, very quick. Yeah. I'm just trying to think outside the box, boys. Yeah. I can just see a name come, and they'll be like, "Oh my god, didn't even think of him."
It's rated at 28 million. But being a striker, that's usually a bit higher then.
Yeah, maybe.
Replacement for Wilson, maybe.
Yeah, would you want him to be a replacement for Wilson?
He only scored 6 goals.
Yeah.
You know what, Daz? I was just about to ask that question. And people might have a different opinion on this, but is he better than Dominic Calvert-Lewin? I'm not sure.
No, I'm not sure.
I'm going to say yes.
Normally I would, but I'm looking at that situation. I'm thinking, is he better? Obviously, there's finances involved in it. It's a great shout.
On that subject, boys, can I ask you a question? Because again, I had another moment where yesterday where I thought I was going bananas, right? So all this news come out, didn't it, about Minter? And I said to me mate, I went, "Oh, you could end up regretting this." And he was like, "Sorry, what do you mean?" And I was like, "Well, the Everton deal was done. The Everton deal was signed, sealed, delivered. He wanted Everton, you wanted him." I said, and then you ruined it by asking for 37 million for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And then apparently we walked away and we're like, "No, I'm not doing that." Which is why now it looks like we're Love Island and with Nottingham Forest. But he seems to think that that Everton were well within the rights to ask for 37 million for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and it was our fault for walking away, and that he won't have any regrets over not getting Yankuba Minter when Yankuba Minter was on their lap. He's saying he's a good player, but he reckons that that perhaps Newcastle should have just took the deal. That's not right, is it?
What? Well, we should have just took the deal.
Yeah, because we're desperate. He's like, you're desperate for money. You're desperate for money. I mean, I can't wait to get off this show.
We're not. We had a good 24
and
hours left.
Over Elliot Anderson. Can't wait for that. He's going to be fuming over that. But yeah, because I said you must regret you know, he's saying to me, "Oh, you've sold Yankuba Minter, and he could be a great player." And I said, "Well, you must be gutted." I said, because you could have had Yankuba Minter if you weren't so greedy over Calvert-Lewin. No. You'll be regretting it, not us. Apparently,
lads, I'm gonna see. Adelaide has been putting loads of messages in the chat, so I'm just gonna go to pick out one of the comments he's put in. But Elise and the whole Bayern Munich thing, that deal hasn't gone through yet. There's talk that the fee might be. They'll probably will go through. He probably will go or get over the line, and he will be a Bayern Munich player. But one that we may look at, we would be definitely jump back in July if it didn't get over the line. So I'm going to pick it up because he's put the list of names in a number of times. Just wanted to acknowledge the comment. And there's plenty of comments as well.
Yeah, interesting. Like I say, there will be revisits on deals. There was talk. We've just been talking about Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and there was talk at the time when we stepped away that we're likely to go back. I think it was Luke Edwards that that we go back in for a lesser fee because he's not worth 37 million. Like we said before, 20 million max. He's got a year left on his contract. Like, why would we be paying 37 million for him? You know, if you're paying 37 million. You're paying it for someone like Ivan Toney that's proven it for the last 2 or 3 years that he can score goals at a high level. Like, you're paying for a player like that who's got it last year on his contract, not a player that's had a series of injuries. Yeah, he's had a half-decent season last season in terms of being fit, but still got 9 goals in a season. It's, for me, like it doesn't make sense, and what your mate's saying is it's actually void because we got the money that we wanted for Yankuba Minter. We've got 33 million. Yeah. We've got another 35 for Elliot Anderson. Like, we didn't need to make that deal. The fact that those deals have been done and are about to be completed today proves the point that we didn't need that deal. And we've recouped 65 million and having spent 0. We've won in that situation. Now, if we go and buy him later on down the line and we say paid 20 million for him, then I think both clubs will be happy with that. Yeah, you get 20 million to build. We've got a striker that's probably going to cost similar to what we sell. Callum Wilson. There's rumours that Saudi will take him for around 20 million. You're laughing.
You've got to take that deal, haven't you? You've got to take that deal. I think Everton looked at it as in, well, we're signing a youngster who's unproven in the Premier League. He's first to say that, which is true. It is, he is a youngster who's unproven in the Premier League. And he was like, yeah, but you've got there an ex-England international who's proven in the Premier League, 26 years old. Surely he's worth the same value as Minter. And I was like, no, it doesn't work like that. He's in the last year of his contract. If Calvert-Lewin had 3 years left on his deal, maybe he could argue that point. But in the last year of his deal, there's no way he's worth that. There's just no way. I had reservations whether he was worth 37 million to start with, let alone the fact that he's only got a year left on his deal. But I agree. I agree with what you said, Pete. I think we could go back in for Dominic Calvert-Lewin because Everton are celebrating, saying that, we're out the woods, we've done our deals, we've sold who we need to sell. Lewis Dobbin and Ben Godfrey. Lewis Dobbin was 9 million and Ben Godfrey was 10 million. If we had 40 million in the hole, we had to get out of 40 million. Rest assured, I think Everton had to get rid of more than 19 million. Rest assured.
Very interesting.
I've had to
chat, Stas.
Yeah, they are. I had to bypass loads of messages in the chat. I apologize because we're like half an hour behind the chat because there's so much happening. So I apologize to that. But let's go to some super chats first. David Knight says, us and Forrest FFP juggling 2 fingers to the cartel. They got a text.
Love it, David.
And So love that, David. Cheers for the donation to the channel as well. Shane Mawson, who will be watching England later on and shouting on England, much to his own disgust, because he's got them in the sweepstake. But as we said, it's slow news day from Shane's wanted to go to that one. Jan Livens says, I firmly believe we will have a great window. Just wait and see. Put your seatbelts on for the July window. Top 4 the target.
Love that.
Definitely.
Love that.
But as well. Thanks to the super chat, Jan. And Shanio in UFC says, we've robbed Forrest. Anderson is 15 million max. I'm of the opinion. Yeah, that's the news that just happened as we're about to go on, and we've been talking about it here for the 35 million, because coming on the show, we were thinking around the 10 million mark, a bit slightly over the 10 million, but 35 million, absolutely unreal. But thanks, Shanio, as well.
Thank you.
That's it for this.
That is silly money, that, isn't it, Daz? That is silly money. 35 million. That's a huge price to negotiate for Elliot Anderson, who's got, as I said before, a decent ceiling. He's got a really decent ceiling, and I think he could go on to be a really, really good player. And like I say, I think it's a good move for Forest. But getting 35 million for Elliot Anderson, who's our third choice left centre mid, boys, we paid 38 million for Bruno.
Yeah,
says it all.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, we
put it into that context.
Yeah, we've sold Elliot Anderson more than what we paid for Sven Botman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's crazy.
It is. You're absolutely right when you put it that way. Like it's absolutely insane that we've done that. And obviously we've got people in the chat that have just recently joined. We've got 550 in the chat. Thank you everyone for joining us. Like that said, there's so many comments and stuff. We'll try and keep up as much as possible. But massive thanks for watching. If you haven't done, just click the like. Click the like means we can get our voices in the channel out to more people, so they can see what we're all about. And just if you haven't seen the latest, Elliot Anderson is going to Forest. We've just been talking about it. He is going, as Keith Downey says, for 35 million to Nottingham Forest. And Craig Hope has reported on top of the 35 million that he understands a Forest player is set to go in the opposite direction. So a Forest player is potentially coming to Newcastle United. We just don't know at this stage who that is.
And Pete, just throw that Keith Downey one back up again.
Yes, mate.
For us.
There you go.
And then look, see there, it's a straight sail to NFC, to Nottingham Forest. Anthony Elanga is not going in the other direction.
As part of that deal.
As part of that deal. But is that another way of saying it's not Anthony Elanga?
Could be, or is it a little bit like what Everton did with Dobbin and Kellyman, in that they're not part of the same deal, but they're part of a separate deal that they're going in the opposite direction. So is it just we're kind of assuming here, but it's actually not clear, because if it was a straight swap, then it would be 35 million for Anderson and a player going in the other direction, which means that we were probably asking for more than 35 million, which is just even more insane. Whereas if we're getting another player, we could well be paying for the right of that player coming over. And let's not forget, this is what they did with like the likes of Dobbin and Kellyman and all the rest of it with the trades. They weren't swap deals. There was just one player going one way and one player going the other for different fees. So it could well be that, and this is just my theory, and our theory, in fact, because we've all said it, we all agree on it. Could it be that they're buying Elliot Anderson for 35 million, but we buy Morgan Gibbs-White for 45 million. So in terms of the actual money that's being traded is only 10 million.
Yeah.
There's only a 10 million trade, but we get 35 million. Yeah. We get 35 million on our books. Boom. PSR done. See you later. Thank you very much. They get 45 million on their books. Thank you. PSR done. Great business. But there's only 10 million actual difference in trade. Does that make sense? Like,
well, if you
over the
spread,
course of the contract.
yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Pete. So the 35 million coming in for Elliot Anderson is there, and then if you buy Morgan Gibbs White for 45 million and you spread them over 5 years, it's 9 million. So essentially, Newcastle have sold Elliot Anderson for 35 million, and they've spent 9 million on Morgan Gibbs White, meaning a total profit of 26 million. 26 million plus the 33 million for Yankuba Minteh is 59 million. That's how the window would finish.
How will this PSR transfer deadline day finish? That is the question. And lads, we're focused in on Forest now, and because of the information from Keith Downey. But if we look outside of the box of Forest, let's say that deal for Forest doesn't get done. Maybe we turn our attention elsewhere. Where else could you see us going today, knowing the clubs that are in trouble? We've got Burnley, we've got Leeds, Everton as well. They may need to do something before the end of the day. With the other clubs, can't remember.
Chelsea, you've got Villa, you've got Leicester.
Yeah, I think Leicester still needed a deal to be done. So I think because there was meant to be the Moda and Dewsbury Hall deal that fell apart. I think that was done the last time. The last time we were on, I think that deal was being done as we were about to wrap up the show, but then that fell through. Apparently, he's waiting for Chelsea. Okay. Right. There's a bit of breaking news. Thanks, Deeps, for pushing it in. Not any of the players that we suggested.
For Forest.
Yeah. Newcastle exclusive. This is from the Daily Mail. Sammy Mukbel is reported. Newcastle trying to negotiate a deal to sign Forest goalkeeper Odyssey's Vlachim Demos as part of the Elliot Anderson move.
30-year-old Greek lad.
Yeah.
Greece. He is worth 7 million in transfer market. Who came from Benfica, Panathinaikos as well before that. Spent a bit of time in Stuttgart.
So not the player that we thought was coming in, but I think that's part of the deal. That's what they're suggesting. That's actually part of the deal. So it could well be that's our alternative goalkeeper. 30 years old, like you said, Daz. Yeah.
That's
I recognize him from I recognize him from FIFA. Yeah, I know you mean, Pete. You did well with that. You did well with that spelling. But yeah, he was quite highly rated not long ago. I wonder when they signed him.
Born in Germany, but he has Greek and German citizenship. So yes. One German in with another in the reserve keepers.
Yeah.
He only joined Forest last year.
Yeah, for 9 million. For 9 million from is it Benfica? Came from? It says on here Benfica. Yeah. Went from Panathinaikos to Benfica, then to Forest. So interesting.
Some great fun with that name pronounced in our shows.
Tell me about it. So again, it comes back to the point. What does that make of the goalkeeping situation then? Because
surely he'd be number 2. Surely.
So yeah. So are we sidestepping Alfred completely now? Mamardashvili completely off the table? Are we focusing our money purely on the outfield players now? Like, how does that leave the goalkeeping situation?
Right. Okay. So we had 4 keepers. Pope, who was injured but's back, he's our number 1 currently. Then we had Dubravka, who's going to have a stormer later on today, increasing his value. And they're not picking up on that. And he will. I think he's going to leave. So we're down 1 keeper. Karius is gone. We're down 2 keepers, and we've got Gillespie as our 4th choice. Let's say. So him coming in second or third choice.
Okay. So
Um,
do you think there's still room? So actually, let me ask it this way: do you think he's going to be the potential John Ruddy replacement? Because remember, we were linked with John Ruddy as a free. Could he be that replacement as third choice goalkeeper? Like you said, that Karius replacement. Was that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I think so, and I think it might have been creative accounting, maybe push up the fee of Elliot Anderson to get us over the PSR line, and us do a deal for him. Maybe he's not worth the. Did you say a 7 million figure, or was there a figure linked in there?
There was no. I've got it here. 1 second. So this is it. Sam Mockwell, exclusive. Newcastle trying to negotiate a deal to sign Forest goalkeeper Vlacha Dimos as part of the Elliot Anderson move. No fee on it. So we can only assume, as it says, as part of the Elliot Anderson move, that there's no fee that we're paying. It's just part of the deal that we're taking a goalkeeper from them. So. It's an interesting one.
It is.
What are your thoughts, Chris? Now we know it's potentially a goalkeeper coming in.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a bit of a curveball trying to digest it. I think when I looked on, I just had a quick look on SofaScore. It says his transfer market value is 15 million euros. So for me, I think he would be the firm number 2. I'd see him as the Martin Dubravka replacement myself. I don't think we'd spend. I think we must be paying at least 15 million for them. If they paid 9 million for them last season, it must be at least 15 million. And to me, that would say that he's there to compete with Nick Pope. Sorry, Daz.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to interrupt you because we're fighting over fake figures here. But 7 million, what I was saying on transfermarket.com.
How is it? Right,
yeah.
Okay.
So, and his highest ever market value, which would have been 3 years ago, was 18 million. This is euro. So that's 7 million euro. So you're talking about 5 million sterling for what he's worth today. So,
and I suppose what you've got to factor in, if Forest paid 9 million for him last season, they're going to have to offlay the 9 million. So they say he signs on a. I'm trying to do the maths easy. Say he signs on a 3-year deal. They'll have paid 3 million of that 9 off. So they've got 6 million left to play. So if we were to sign him for say 16 million, they would make 10 million profit on him. So yeah, for me,
he's got 3 years left in his contract. Actually,
he does. Yeah, I just didn't want to do the maths on that. So yeah, 9 million divided by 4 would be what? 4.5, 2.25. So 2.25 million. So 2.25 take off the 9 would be 6.75. So we'd have 6.75 that it wouldn't count because they've still got to lay that off in order to pay him. So if anything we buy him over 6.75 would be pure profit for Forest. So I would reckon the fee would probably be around 15 million. That would be my guess. And I think he'd come in as number 2. So if he comes in as number 2, that would be the Martin Dubravka replacement. Martin Dubravka would then probably move to Saudi, which is what it certainly sounds like, from the rumours we've heard. And I still would expect a John Ruddy type or a Scott Carson type to come in and be that third choice above Mark Gillespie, who will be 4th choice. That's how I'd see it. So
the question back to you, Pete: Are we going to look at Trafford or Marshville, or is that us done in the goalkeeper department? I think there's room for one more.
Yeah, I think there's probably room for one more, but that would rule out this move. For me, I think rules out Mamardashvili. Yeah, I looking at that, if he comes in and like what Chris has mentioned, and you're right in terms of the figures and stuff, like it would put him very much in that second or third berth, probably more so second than anything else. You wouldn't pay 15 million for a goalkeeper to be third choice.
No.
You just wouldn't. Like, if you're paying any sort of fee, you're expecting them to be a backup, not a backup's backup. So, like, Karius was a free, so he wasn't attached to a club, so that was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So I mean, if he comes in as a free and he's happy to sit as third, happy days. and then we'd probably be looking at Trafford next. But the thing that it's made clear to me, if this deal does go through, is that Nick Pope will be number one next season.
Yeah,
that's what it makes, because we need to be looking. Like, you're looking at a Mamardashvili coming in, that level of goalkeeper. If you're making that goalkeeper number one, it doesn't look like Newcastle are going in that direction. Not yet. Maybe next summer that might be something that they look at. But I think they're looking at a pool of goalkeepers that are solid enough to see us through. Goalkeepers that might not be banging on the door and moaning and groaning like a Dubravka did, but were happy to kind of like play a part within the squad. And this goalkeeper seems like he is. Gillespie, we know, is, because he's in the away end most weeks, away games and in the stands for the home games. So he's happy being at the club. And then I think if a James Trafford came in second and this guy in third, I think that would be a nice pool of goalkeepers to take us through. So yeah, I think it does unfortunately rules out Mamardashvili, which is a huge shame because he's such a good goalkeeper. I know we talked about the deficiencies with regards to his feet and his distribution, but he's an elite shot stopper and commander of his area. He's such a great goalkeeper. So I don't know. It maybe rules that out, but this is the question that I was going to kind of put back to you. So if that's the goalkeeper situation done, what does this then lead to in terms of, it goes back to this right wing position, because we haven't actually really touched on it. We've kind of covered it because he's gone. Like Ikube Minte is being sold for 30+ million to Brighton. He's going. We've got Miggy that's rumored to be going as well on the back of that, and then we've got we've got Jacob Murphy. Like, is that where we're going to go all out to sign a top level player? You talked about Elise Das, 60 million. That deal's not gone through. Are you expecting us to go out and spend that type of money on a right winger to bring him into the club?
I was 2 days ago, and I definitely am now. And back to the goalkeeper, I don't think we wouldn't be spending 15 million on that guy because that's the kind of figures we're talking about for Trafford. So it's a lot less than that. But yeah, the right wing is the one where we're going to spend bulk of our budget on. But just who is the player is going to be the question, and that won't be solved today. That's into the next 4 or 5 weeks, I think. And I think they'll have that player in before for pre-season as well. I want to get them singing before the start of the Premier League season.
Breaking news, boys. Fabrizio Romano has confirmed Newcastle have booked a medical for Vlacho Dimos later today in order to complete a move from Nottingham Forest. Elliot Anderson will move for 35 million, the second one after Ikube Minte to Brighton. Vlacho Dimos has accepted, and he says, as the Daily Mail called. So yeah, that is confirmed. He will be coming to Newcastle United. He is the goalkeeper signing, not the player we expected to be coming through, but he is the player that's coming the other way. And as it says, Chris, we talked about what fee might be coming for. It doesn't say a fee at all. It says it's part of the deal. So that then lays the question out. What we've already talked about, people in the chat. Is this a third choice, or is this the backup to Nick Pope next season? We'll have to wait and see. But that is your breaking news, people. As it's coming through, we've had a couple of breaking newses today.
I know.
Christ,
I was
man.
when you were talking, empty. I was laughing when you were talking because I was like, I looked at the clock and we've been live for just under 1 hour 20, and like about 10-15 minutes ago, we were like, I wonder who it could be. I wonder who the player is. And Fab's like, yeah, medical's booked. He's on his way. Here we go. And it's like,
we sold him. We sold. By the end of the show, we'll have sold him again. It's gone like that.
Get your predictions in the chat, people. Who's going next, or who's coming in next? Which player's leaving next? Who's coming in?
I'm saying leaving next is is Wilson potentially today. I'm saying after today's the PSR transfer deadline, I think we're going to be Miggy. Miggy, we have to find a home for Miggy. Miggy has to find a home for himself as well, because he's on the way out. And Trips, I think is going to be on his bike as well. Not the same one as Gordon, but then we're shopping. From tomorrow on, we are shopping in all the right places, hopefully.
Yeah,
definitely. And just to throw this up, there you go, from Fabrizio Romano, medical booked, just everything that I've read out, just so it's there for all of us to see. That breaking news kicking in there. Any questions from people in the chat, maybe about what's been going on?
There are.
Imagine.
Yeah, and I kind of skipped past loads of comments to try and weed out the questions, but I still am nowhere near it. Okay, this one from Aston Stevens. Any whiff of truth in these long-staffed AC Milan rumours? Maybe part of the Thaw deal or utter nonsense? I'd say it's utter nonsense, but myself, but I saw a picture of him in an AC Milan kit though on Twitter. I thought that was good. So.
Yeah, I can't.
Let's rule that one out.
Myself. Yeah, I mean, well, who knows? Maybe AC Milan would impress with him when he plays. Who knows? But I would file that under unlikely, I think.
Yeah, I don't see that happening, lads. Not at all. Whereas Malik Tar, or Tau, however you pronounce it, I would say. Yeah, I would say he's a genuine option for Newcastle. So I don't think that one's going away anytime soon. And now we've got a little bit of money behind us. Who's to say that one doesn't accelerate itself within the next week or two? Let's wait and see.
Yeah. Fumby, friend of the channel, Fumby, who was in the chat earlier, he might be still there. You guys think we could tempt Forest to drop 90 million on Willock? That Forest, as Keith Patterson, he's a bit of a boy. So you never know, but maybe not before midnight, Fumby.
You like
Fumby,
it?
not like Willock. He's not a Willock fan.
I think he drops in and out. Like I think I think he understands his talent, but I think he's very much like, you know, he isn't a first choice. Kind of like he's one of those squad players that look. Let's face it, he's kind of a backup to Joe Linton in that position, isn't he? Really, a good player to have. But I think it's more about the fact that Forest just like to put a lot of money down on players. So I think that would be more than anything. Because let's face it, like Forest, we've got a good relationship with Forest. You know, after Chris Wood and Shelby, Colback from years gone by. I think he's gone on loan to them and then signed permanently. We have got a good relationship with Forest, and you know they've done one again. They've paid us the big money. So fair play.
Yeah. Right. Lisa says big love to the Loaded family and all the Loaded Ultras as well in the chat, our members. Best on YouTube by far. We still have our own breaking news that we have to break. We're breaking towards the end of the show. But yeah, thanks Lisa, and thanks everyone in the chat as well. Make sure you smash that like button. This one from Michael. He says, do you think we got a sell-on percentage in the Minta deal? I think no. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I agree with you, Daz. I would like to think that we did, but I heard a rumor of 15%, but I think that was quashed. I think they were like, no. And do you know what? I don't blame Brighton either. We can't have our cake and eat it. We got the 30+ million we wanted. Maybe if we'd done the deal around 20 million, maybe we could have asked for that sell-on figure. But I think if you're paying top dollar for the player who, as we keep saying, is unproven at this level, I think it will be a bit cheeky to go, yeah, we'll have 33 million and we'll have a sell-on clause, and we'll have a buyback clause. I think it's probably just a bit too much to ask. So I would say probably not, Michael, even though it would have been nice. I would say probably not.
No, not for me. I was always in my mind. I was always adamant if you went to a Premier League club, there would be no buyback clause, even if it was Everton. I didn't think there'd be a buyback clause. I think my only hope is if you went to Marseille or Lyon, I think there would have been, because it was a different league. I don't believe there will be. for obvious reasons. Brighton have paid a hugely inflated fee for him. They're not going to put a buyback clause on that, so it gets snapped away later on down the line. They're going to want to make profit because that's the type of club that they are.
Yeah.
We've got this one from Peter Smart, and I know the answer here, boys. It's only if there's massive things going on. He wants to know, can we keep the Sunday morning show weekly? I say no. But you never know.
With the
You never
constant
know. You never know.
yeah, we'll try and do it. I may struggle. Yeah, I think we'll try and struggle to sort that out. I will personally, because when my daughter's playing football, I will struggle to get into that. But we'll see. We'll try and sneak in a few more.
We'll see.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. We can work something out. Sean goes another way. Sean Gilly goes, celebrating. Oh, lad, seriously, Anderson would be worth 60 to 70 million pound player in 2 years' time. There's the potential for that. But
yeah, do you know what, Sean? I get where you're coming from, mate. I do. And like, I wouldn't say I'm celebrating. I'm more celebrating the fee, if I'm honest, because to get 35 million for, essentially, as we said before, our third choice left centre mid or our fourth choice left winger, it's a good deal. It's good money. We've said previously, Sean, Elliot Anderson's a talented player. Elliot Anderson could be a really, really good Premier League player. Is Elliot, and I suppose what I'd say, Sean, to ask yourself, is Elliot Anderson going to play a key part for us next season in getting top four? For me, the answer would probably be no. That's not to say that he wouldn't in terms of, injuries or suspensions and stuff. But if you're picking your best midfield three of the current crop of players we've got available to us, Elliot Anderson's nowhere near that starting midfield. Might not want to hear that, but he's nowhere near it, mate. He's nowhere near it. I'd have Joe Linton ahead of him. I'd have Willock ahead of him in that left central midfield role. And you can argue, we've just forked out a lot of money on Alfie Harrison. We've got Lewis Miley coming through the ranks. We've got Joe White coming through the ranks. Unfortunately, in this PSR world that we're in, not that any of us like it, when you're getting 35 million pure profit from an academy product, who's a very good player, but who, he may have found his ceiling, if you like. He could go on and be a really, really good player, you're right. Or he could just be a steady Premier League player, like a mid-table player. And if you're getting 35 million for that, I think it's good business. So I wouldn't say we're celebrating, mate, but I do take your point. And we're more celebrating the fact that we've managed to sell someone for 35 million who's basically on the fringe of the starting 11. And we've been able to retain the key jewels in the crown who we wanted to keep hold of. I think that's why we're so buoyant. Or rejuvenated, as Pete would say.
It's what comes next. That's what we're excited about, and I think all Newcastle fans are excited about what that 35 million allows us to do. If it allows us to get a first choice ready centre back or a first choice ready right winger or both off the back of that, that's what makes it exciting, because then we're able to really kick on with our first 11 and with our team, with a player, although a local lad could do well, may not do well, who knows. Leaving the club, who's not guaranteed to get into the first team.
No. Interesting one from Foxy. He says V Domino's, that's my new name for him, was decent with Benfica, but wasn't popular with Forest fans. They're saying he has worse distribution than Matt Turner. Yikes!
Wow. I'll be honest with you. I'm coming in blind here. I don't know. I haven't seen anything about him. I don't know what he's like. I don't know how good he is. I'm not sure. But the key thing is that we know that Nick Pope is first choice. So regardless of that, I don't think it matters. And I think any goalkeeper is a better alternative than Martin Dubravka at this moment in time. So
I echo what you say, Pete. Totally agree, mate. I think sometimes you've just got to. Do you know what? We constantly bang on about it and we constantly say it. Eddie Howe and his coaching team have gone for this player for a reason, and maybe they think that his value is probably lower maybe the potential or the fact that, you know, you don't end up at Benfica by accident. There's clearly something there. And the fact that he's going to be a backup keeper, it may not turn out to be such a bad deal. He's 30 years of age, which for the goalkeeper is very young. He's still probably got a good 5, 6, 7, 8 years left in him. So it could turn out to be a reasonably good deal. And will he be an upgrade on Martin Dubravka? Like Pete said, I believe he probably will be.
I'll go bring it back as far on the goalkeepers. Aidan has here a question: would you sell Pope so you could have Marmashvili? He says, I would. And actually, FX Pro says the same thing, and also with the super chat. Cheers, FX Pro. Pope sale, Marmashvili number 1.
How much do you reckon we could get for Pope?
Good question. What do we buy him for as well?
Hypothetically, if we were going to sell,
he's currently on transfermarket.com. He's worth 60 million euro. So I think we get 20 million sterling for him though, for Pope. But it's just his shoulders. How that would hold up in a medical as well. Highest ever market value was 20 million euros.
Depending on the club, you could probably get 20 million, 15, 20 million. That could potentially be the money that you could put down on the Mamardashvili towards it. I don't think Newcastle fans would argue with that. I don't see it happening personally. That's just my feeling there.
Yeah.
Although
also you've got to consider that I wouldn't normally go down this road of thinking this, but if we were to lose Wilson and Trippier as well, and as well we've got Richie and Dummett gone, and this the older heads, the leadership is eroding a bit. We need to be bringing in leaders now as well to build that up. So there's that to take into consideration. That's definitely something Eddie Howe will factor into everything. So
yeah. The only thing I'd say is I wouldn't completely rule it out. I'm going to try and pronounce his name now. Vlachodimos. I think he, for me, he is being brought in as a number 2. So if you were to get rid of Nick Pope and bring in a number 1, I would say the only thing this deal does is rule out James Trafford, because James Trafford isn't ready to be number 1. So I think it wouldn't. There's more likelihood of us getting Mamardashvili than there is James Trafford now, in my opinion. But that would mean Nick Pope going. I always saw, and we've spoke about this loads, boys, you know, the fact that for me, Nick Pope is a very, very good goalkeeper, and I think he'd be a fantastic number 2 for us. So I didn't envisage him leaving. I actually thought that number 1 would come in to challenge Pope, take over from Pope, and then Pope would stay as the number 2. Like I wouldn't see the value in selling someone like Nick Pope for 20 million. But I mean, the way this window's going, who knows? Who knows? If someone slapped 20 million on the table now, would they listen to it? It's a valid point. We bought him for 10 million from Burnley. You know, if he signed a 5-year deal, say, I think it was 5-year deal, but say he signed a 5-year deal, it's 2 million a season, in terms of you know, costing, if you like. So, you know, there's no reason why we couldn't do it. I watched, and if anybody hasn't watched it, make sure you go back and watch it. I watched the show that you lads did with Sean Casey, and I know that you were split on your opinions of Mamardashvili. I know Sean said he wasn't a big fan of him. But for me, I think purely, even just, you know, from what I've seen of him previously and what he's done at the Euros, like, I think it would be mad not to go for him. I really like him. And I also saw that picture on X, you know, of him like doing a Bruno, stood on the advertising stands in front of the fans, and I was just like, wow, get him. I loved all that. Yeah, I loved all that. I thought it was brilliant. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see, boys. But yeah, I would say it's probably unlikely that Nick Pope goes, and I think Vlachodimos is going to come in as number 2, and then I expect us to sign a number 3 somewhere along the line on a free.
I think third choice, and there's more to play out on the goalkeeper side of things. Sorry, I want to go to Truls as well. Cheers to the donation, Truls, for the super chat. The new 3-year period of PSR starts tomorrow. We're not finished today yet, though. Truls, there's more to come today. I think along the way. Well, we're going to start wrapping up now, but before we do as well, just a reminder, we could well be back on here again later on, so make sure you turn on your notifications, you hit subscribe. We could be off the show in 5 minutes and back on again. It's that kind of a day. But expect the unexpected from us, as I said at the start. The hunted have now become the hunters, and as we go in search of bargains for the rest of the day. Anything else, you guys, you want to say as we wrap up?
No, John Percy, the Telegraph, just kind of reporting again about Elliot Anderson is now having his medical. So he's having his medical now. That's happening this moment. So I guess it's even more breaking news. Currently having his medical, 35 million fee agreed. I think Door's having me on in one of the chats. He's saying that the Greek goalkeeper is coming our way, and we're paying 25 million for him. But and to be fair, I've checked it and I've gone back to him and I've said there's nobody's reporting that at all. Everyone is, all the journalists, the national and local, they're all saying 35 million for Anderson, and this goalkeeper is part of the deal. So until someone actually states that, like, that's definitely not the case. But
it could be 35 million plus the keeper.
Yeah, I think he's trying to make himself feel better.
Yeah. My argument for that would be, considering none of us know anything about Vlad Jozimos, I'm assuming he hasn't played much football for Nottingham Forest last season, and they've signed him for 9 million. So for us to then come in and go, oh yeah, we'll give you 25 million for Vlad Jozimos, who's barely played in the Premier League, and we're going to give you an extra 16 million on top of what you paid last season. I think even we would struggle to justify that to the Premier League for PSR, personally. I think you're probably looking at more 15 million. I wouldn't have thought it'd be more than 15 million.
Yeah.
Also, the other bit of breaking news, it's our own breaking news that we want to highlight as well, because there's so much going on. We've kind of parked it, but we hit 20k subscribers for Loaded. That's you guys listening, watching, and that's ever listened or watched to a show. That is you guys, or ever put a comment in the chat. Thank you for sticking with us, and plenty more to come. It's not even July, remember, but thanks.
Thank you.
Love it.
20k, boys. 20k.
Yeah, amazing, absolutely amazing. And like you said, Daz, massive thanks to everybody. So many people in the chat, so many new people in the chat over the last 6 months, 8 months or so. The amount of new people that have come and joined the channel and involved in everything that we do has just been amazing. So thank you for everyone tuning in. Thank you for all your support, and for spreading the message of Loaded Mag NUFC. We always say, spread the message, let other people know about our channel. We do this because we enjoy talking about Newcastle United. We do this because we enjoy interacting with all of you. So a massive thanks to that. And look, as Daz said, there is lots more to come. The summer's only just started, and we're still building, and we've got lots more planned in the pipeline, ready for July into August, and then we will attack the new season. That is for sure. So stick with us, people. We're not going anywhere.
We're not going anywhere. We're not going too far away from the laptop, I think, either. Even though I do have to nip out for the next 2 hours. But that's it. Thanks for giving up your Sunday morning or wherever you may be in the world, evening or afternoon or night, or catching up on playback. Keep an eye out. It's not over yet. How'd you like that?
How you like